to walk through the door that you're shown.
This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas. This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.
Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and today in Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas, we have a guest who looks different than what she really is inside, or let's put it differently, she has discovered and explored that side in her, which most of us aspire to, and she's helping others to become aware of their spiritual self, and she has founded Gita for the masses, through which she's taking the message of Gita for the contemporary mind, dealing with problems of competition and technology-oriented questions that are making our life go sometimes in a way that is called astray. My guest today is Myra Godfrey. Welcome. Namaskar. So now you are looking at Bhagavad Gita from the Shakti perspective especially, but before getting to that side, allow me to ask you, when was your interest in Bhagavad Gita, or how you became interested in the flow of knowledge as is seen originating from Bharat?
I became interested in the Bhagavad Gita when I met my guru in 2006. Before that, I had no conceptualization really of Eastern spirituality. But when I met my guru, I think the first thing that I really noticed was his character, the way that he conducted himself, and a lot of questions that I had had became instantaneously answered. I knew in that moment that it's possible to be the absolute best person that you can be in life, and that you don't have to compromise integrity for any reason, and that when you don't, you can make a true difference in the world. So from that point on, because I saw just the light of truth emanating from this person, I knew that whatever it was that he was teaching had to be absolutely right, and I needed to let go of any of my preconceived notions and learn.
Salutes to your conviction and clear perception of the presence of truth. Allow me to ask you a little bit more about your guru and the circumstances that brought you in his presence.
The circumstances, I think, were predestined, obviously, because I met him at such an early age. I was only 27 at the time. And I know it's not as common for younger people to have such a deep interest in spirituality or philosophy, and they don't start that pursuit typically till later in life. At that point in my life, I was dealing with a lot of stress and problems, and I had spoken to a friend of mine about wanting to learn meditation. And he said, "Oh, my guru is coming from India in a couple of months. You should go and meet him." And so I did. And once I met him, I said instantaneously, I was quite aware of who he was, even though I had no context for what I was feeling. I knew he was 100% authentic, and that is what we should really be aspiring for. I had always been deeply religious my entire life, but growing up in a Christian background, we don't have a concept of really guru or teacher, and the people who run the church, be a minister or a pastor, obviously aren't realized souls. So coming into proximity of one, for me it was quite apparent immediately, and I changed my entire life trajectory at that point.
So what were you doing before this new trajectory became a part of your life?
I was a molecular biologist, and I was pursuing my PhD.
And did you finish your PhD?
I absolutely did not. Once I met my guru, I left the program entirely. I was wanting to study things to maybe develop a cure for cancer or AIDS. Once I met him inwardly, I knew I would not find what I was looking for in conventional Western science, that I would find it in spirituality. So I had no hesitation about walking away from that.
So what is the distinct difference that you have experienced or you see between Eastern and Western approach towards truth?
You mean the way that we in the West approach truth, or the way in which, like, the Christian church approaches truth?
Let's say West.
I would say that the biggest distinction I have seen is that a lot of people, and religions in particular, will promote a specific dogma, which is focused towards a result. They'll tell you that you need to be compassionate, or you need to do this or that, or not do this or that, and this is going to make you a pious person. But they don't really explain to you how to get there. It's just do this at all costs. And by the way, you're just a human and you're a sinner. There's no way that you can perfect yourself. And that paradigm really doesn't work. So I think that Eastern spirituality is much different because it says it's not really about the result as much as it is about the process. It's what you do here and now. It's the process of becoming what it is that you want to be and that you're capable of. And also that there's no definitive place that you need to reach to. You need to reach into yourself, not to a false externalized construct of what one person maybe believes the truth is. So I think that there's a major difference right there. So the Eastern philosophy and approach is much more approachable to anyone because you're just looking to become the best person that you can be and find God as he or she or it reveals itself to you.
So Myra, it's very interesting, and even many people who have grown up in India may not be able to resonate with the way you have aligned your thinking process, or the way you started seeing, and the way you were leading your life, it also got changed. You have underlined few important points. Openness. Openness in embracing or discovering truth without being bound by any dogma. That openness is very good, and at the same time it puts people in a vulnerable position. So many people without practicing starts questioning, and then they start denying it also. So for someone who is probably listening to you now, thinking that you were doing your research, you left that, and now you are pursuing a vague sort of a path, because people don't see spirituality in concrete terms as something worthy of your total attention. So you probably come across many of your Western friends or maybe family members. So what do you tell them? What is it that you are doing now that you are not pursuing your research?
I tell them I'm pursuing something that's going to actually find an answer.
Answer to?
Everything is already written in the scriptures. All of the answers are already there. If you want to live a place of holistic well-being and be in optimal health, you definitely don't need to do it through conventional Western preventative medicine, and the pharmaceutical industry is definitely not going to get you there either. I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I can tell you straight up, they don't have the answers. So when I found this approach, it was very apparent to me that this is real, that your healing really does come from within yourself, and your ability to tap into that innermost soul energy that you carry, which some people could call the soul, other people could call God. I would say in regards to the path, it's not dogmatic, but that's not to say that there's not a path. There's always a delineated path, which is why it's important to study with a guru, because they can help align you towards your intrinsic path and what's best for your innate swabhava and dharma. So there is always an approach that you follow, but the rules change along the way. And so in a dogmatic context, the rules never change. In spirituality, you follow what you're doing at the moment based on where your psychological and emotional growth is at that moment in time. And that's going to change the closer that you reach towards yourself. The more that the kundalini ascends in the body, the rules change dramatically along the way. So there's no one answer that really benefits everyone. It's what's going to help you at this moment in time to further take that next step towards yourself.
So there is not one answer, and there are probably infinite answers to reach the infinite.
Absolutely.
Now that kind of openness is fascinating, and we really are most of the time bound by certain expectations. We want certain type of results, and if we don't reach to that sort of effect could be even in terms of the kind of experience, or using a commonly used expression, what kind of kick you get out of it. So many people go for meditation also to experience some sort of a kick.
Yeah.
When I say kick, meaning a special intense feeling or sort of if I ask you, where would you say the hypnosis and true meditation are different? Because some people who totally look at it from, they question everything, and this is, you're just getting into some sort of self-illusionment. Yeah.
I would say when you're looking for authenticity, if you're really looking to find yourself, you have to drop any expectations or preconceived notions that there are around the result that you're going to achieve, around the fact that you are or are not the doer, and around the process. So result, doership, and process also relate to the three gunas and the three veils of Prakriti. So if you want to realize yourself, you have to go beyond Maya. So you can't be attached to any of the gunas or those things that they represent. So tamas, rajas, and sattva, if you're attached to process, doership, or result, you're still bound by those three things. So as long as you are thinking in a way of, oh, I want to get this result, that's not really an authentic way to approach meditation. Meditation is more about listening to what God and the soul has to say to you. It's not you telling God what you want to get out of it, to walk through the door that you're shown.
This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.
It's like if you're playing a video game, your little avatar on the screen, it's like we're those avatars walking around in the real world, and the Bhagavad Gita, I see it as like your cheat code in order to be able to live your life in the most effective way possible. That's how it revealed itself to me. It's like if you follow this, you'll find yourself. Absolutely. If you follow this with sincerity, there's no way you can't find yourself.
Myra Godfrey, my guest today, she's convinced that there is a clear-cut pathway towards leading a successful life given to us in Bhagavad Gita. She found it, and then she had this urge to share what she found, and she started sharing this knowledge, and that's how somewhere on the lines Gita for the Masses organization was probably formed.
Yes.
Tell us how this came into being.
It came into being when I realized that the things that I was teaching had evolved beyond what my guru was teaching at the time. When the direct transmission was coming to me in my meditations and from the Divine Mother, I realized that the message had taken on its whole unique meaning. So with the blessings and permissions of my guru and a lot of encouragement, I started this nonprofit organization to share these teachings and to bring out more of the Shakti, divine feminine side that's in the Bhagavad Gita.
So, as you were mentioning that the Divine Mother started communicating with you in your meditation, and someone hears this and say, wait a minute, what is she saying? So if there is any way that you can share some more details, how you were convinced that this is Divine Mother talking to you, or your mind playing some game. So is there any way to verify for your own self that this is for real, this is for real?
Yeah, the blessings of my gurus and their encouragement to teach. If a guru who is clearly realized says that you're on track and you know what you're talking about and your guidance is authentic and real, there's absolutely no reason to doubt that. Despite the fact that they did, I doubted it for quite a long time, and I didn't put myself out there as much as I should the past 3 years, because it's taken that amount of time for me to fully get beyond my own doubt, despite the fact that my teachers, my guru have said, you're more than competent, you're more than ready, you're clear, this transmission comes to you directly. It was a matter of just getting out the last of those samskaras that were saying, no, you shouldn't be doing this. Who are you to be doing this?
So share with us the perspective from the Shakti point of view, as is revealed to you in your meditation by Divine Mother about Bhagavad Gita. What is the distinct new perspective that comes to you?
I don't think it's actually a new perspective. It's something that has long been understood in Tantric Shaivism, but that's not really openly accessible, especially here in the West. But it was new to me in this lifetime, getting a transmission in that way. So Bhagavad Gita means Song of God, but it's typically been translated very much just from a masculine perspective or from a transcendentalist perspective, which doesn't include that whole Shiva Shakti, masculine and feminine counterpart. So as I was sitting in meditation one day, I got that very strong urge. It said, you need to write a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita from a Shakti perspective. And I almost just laughed. I'm like, what could I possibly find in here that hasn't been said 100 times over in the hundreds of commentaries that are out there? But I started to do it anyway, and I was really, really surprised at what I found and what was being shown to me as I was going through this process. And so just as each of the chapters in the Bhagavad Gita is walking you through a different aspect of psychology and yoga, each of those chapters and energies also correlate with an aspect of the divine feminine Shakti. So as you start with the Bhagavad Gita, the foundation really being in chapter 2 with Buddhi Yoga, and that's dealing with the intellect. The Shakti of the intellect is Siddha Kali. So it's basically the inner discernment that Gita is teaching you, is showing you how to use this energy to go in and dissolve all of these vikalpas and samskaras that we have stored in the mind. We're really good about digesting food and other things physically, but I think the biggest problem we face in the West is that people haven't really learned how to digest what they put into their minds. So as opposed to the mind being this very clear projector to project the reality that you want to live, it becomes more like a garbage bin that just stores all of these emotions and things that we've learned in our life. So through this process of inner discernment and meditation and the spiritual pursuit, you can tap into that specific Shakti energy, and it shows you how to start dissolving these things so that you can get back down to that zero shunya state where you really do receive clear guidance.
Myra, in our informal conversation, you were mentioning that you approached it not from intellectual point of view, but what you say, it sounds very profound intellectual expression. So there is some way in which the spiritual realization or your inner dialogue with yourself, when it is expressed, it takes the form which would appeal to an intellectual mind also. Going further from this, when you started sharing, how has been the response of people, and who have been your potential audience, so to say?
I've gotten responses that run the gamut. I've gotten extremely positive responses from people and extremely negative responses from people. I've gotten phone calls and emails from people all around the world, both in support and utter condemnation of what I'm doing.
So, how that works for you, though in Bhagavad Gita, in 12th chapter, Lord Krishna says, Samashatraucha mitraicha mitrocha tatha manapamanayo, meaning whether somebody praises or somebody is condemning you, you maintain evenness of mind. Now, how that is possible for anyone? Because most of the time we get swayed by, if people are speaking good about us, we feel good, and if they are in disagreement, it disturbs us most of the time.
Absolutely.
So what is your solution that you offer to people who confront these kind of situations?
Well, honestly, that being sensitive to praise or blame is connected with the fifth chakra energy, and the point at which you realize yourself is when you come into contact, when the Kundalini comes into contact with the sixth chakra. So that means that you've already done a lot of work by that point. That's one of the last things that you go beyond before you are really able to solidify your consciousness in your core self, is that being sensitive to praise or blame. That will be one of the last veils that you cross through. So to do it authentically is to really understand who you are, what your dharma is, and always, always, always have a strong sankalpa that is taking you in the direction of living your dharma. Because as long as that's your focus and you really have confidence and believe in yourself and what you're doing, what other people say or do shouldn't matter to you. And their praise or blame can be a good thing. I mean, it may not seem that way, but if someone is going to be blaming you, they're taking away a little bit of your karma every time they do. And if someone is praising you, then they're adding fuel to your fire to help you reach your goal. So you can look at it in the way of, hey, I'm getting a lot of criticism. Wow, this is wonderful. Because it helps to bring humility, and it means if they're talking bad about you, they draw their negative energy towards them.
So that is a positive way of looking at something that apparently might
it's not positive for them, but yes.
It might seem negative, but
Yeah.
There's a positive drift on it.
Yeah.
And on the card that I have from Myra, it says Shri 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 Jaya Jaya Myra Parmeshwari Devi. And I chose not to write this name, and I thought let's introduce her with the original or the earlier name, Myra Godfrey. This name, when someone hears, it creates different kind of expectations, and so when you write this and you carry this card, I read it again, Shri 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 Jai Jai Myra Parmeshwari Devi. What does it tell you about yourself? And when you carry this name, it probably puts some additional, call it responsibility, or there are certain ways of creating image. So this name creates certain sort of image. And I'm sure to live up to that image, it requires a lot of grace. Share with us something about this.
I didn't reveal that name publicly for quite a while. I had asked in my meditation, I said I want to know what my spiritual name is, because my gurus never had given me one. And I said, okay, Ma, tell me. And she revealed it immediately, and I thought, wow, that's pretty profound. I don't know what to do with that at this point in time. But really, Jaya and Jaya Jaya, I mean, where you see that the most common is in the Mahishasura Mardini Stotram. And that is very much the exact same energy that I'm working with here. Anytime you're working with energies that destroy egoism in man, it carries that very strong Durga energy. And that's exactly what the Bhagavad Gita does, is destroy the egoism that we carry so that you can align your ego and your full being and your dharma with everything that you're supposed to be doing here.
And very briefly, what is Hridaya healing?
Hridaya healing is an aspect of the work that I do that's focused towards individuals. So with Gita for the Masses, I do public classes and workshops, public speaking, public sacred ceremonies and homams that people can come to. With Hridaya healing, I do individual and couples consultations to help people solve their individual problems in life, whether that be doing a homam or a puja for them, whether it be working with them in numerology or basic guidance, giving them a mantra to do, something that's going to either improve their health or their emotions or their relationship, or something that's going to help to bring about more harmony and success in life.
Wonderful. So there's so much more that we can learn from Shri 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 Jai Jai Myra Parmeshwari Devi, or Myra Godfrey, whichever way you want to recognize her at this point. And before I let you go, any mantra that you consider is useful for world peace?
For world peace? I am a firm believer that peace always starts from within. So whatever that you are doing with yourself, if you can change and align your energy with what you want to cultivate, that's what you're going to be emanating in the world, which is the highest form of seva, is to give of what you really are inside, not just giving a blind actions externally. So anything that's going to take you further into yourself. That said, I'm a huge fan of Ganesh. So a basic Ganesh mantra like Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, that's always good, because that's going to remove obstacles to you feeling the most confident and successful in yourself. Now, if you feel confident and successful, then you're going to be peaceful.
So feel confident and successful, and you'll be peaceful. And Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha is the mantra that comes to us again from Myra Godfrey. Thank you very much for being with us, and lots of good wishes for the good work that you are doing.
Thank you.
This is Ashok Vyas thanking her, as well as thanking all of you for joining us. Namaste.
This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.